In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace your lower control arm on your Buick Encore. It's located behind your front wheel. Using a 19mm socket, we're going to move our lug nuts. Set those to the side. Using a 15mm socket, we're going to take off this nut. Alright, I put my nut on the back end of the bolt so I don't mushroom it out, to tap it out. So now we can take this nut off. And get the bolt out the rest of the way. All right, so now we're going to separate this a little bit more. That looks like it's nice and loose. All right, once you know that's separated, we're going to get this bolt out. We're going to use an 18mm wrench on the nut side. I'm just going to leave that there. And now I'm going to feed a long 18mm socket, 1/2 inch, through with a swivel attached. And then I'm going to stick an extension underneath the control arm to be able to get that out with an air gun. Okay, once you get the nut off and the bolt loose, you're going to disconnect your situation here before you get it all jammed up. You're going to push the bolt through. Using an 18mm socket, a swivel, and an extension, I'm going to get to this bolt. This nut has something to stop it from spinning, so we're going to use that instead of a wrench. Make sure you have a hand on your control arm as you get it out the rest of the way. Now we can push it out on the other side. You might have to wiggle your control arm a little bit. And you can take it out. When installing your lower control arm, you want to take this cap off first, so that way it's ready to go to put into the knuckle. All right, line up your control arm. Now you can feed your bolt through and catch it on the other side with the nut. Now that you have that started, you can do this one. Position your control arm so you can feed your bolt through the other side. And you can get that bolt started by turning the bolt. That should be good. All right, so now we're going to line up our ball joint with our knuckle. I'm using a pry bar on the control arm. All right, once you get that started, you can use a pry bar on the other end and push up on the control arm to get it in. You may have to pry up on the lower control arm and use a rubber mallet to tap it in. I'm going to hold the head of my bolt on the other side with a wrench and tighten up the nut. I'm going to start by torquing this bolt to 31 foot-pounds. I'm holding the other side with a 15mm wrench. Now that that's torqued, we have to back it off 120 degrees, which is a little less than a half a turn. So once again, I'm going to hold my bolt with the wrench on the other side, and I'm going to go almost a half a turn. At this point, we're going to torque it to 26 foot-pounds. The final pass is going to be 30 to 45 degrees, which just means about a quarter of a turn. And now your ball joint is torqued. We're going to use a pole jack. You can use a jack if you're on the ground. We're going to jack this up to ride height, right underneath the ball joint, before torquing our control arm bolts on the other end. That's good right there. Now let's tighten and torque down our control arm. I'm going to hold the other end, tighten this back bolt first. Now we're going to snug up this side as well. We're going to start with this front bolt, 85 foot-pounds. Now we're going to back it off. 2 turns. And now we're going to tighten it to 59 foot-pounds. And now we're going to go another quarter of a turn. Now let's move to the other bolt. For this side, the torque spec is 59 foot-pounds, and then instead of backing it off, you're just going to tighten it a little less than a quarter of a turn after the foot-pounds. Okay, and now we're going to go a quarter of a turn, or a little less than a quarter of a turn. And there we go. All right, so now your control arm is torqued at ride height. We're going to lower it down. Anytime you do any sort of suspension, it's a good idea to go down to your local shop and get an alignment. Install your wheel. Start your lug nuts by hand. I usually start at the bottom one and walk the wheel up. And then be sure to tighten in a star-like pattern. We're going to torque our wheels to 100 foot-pounds using a 19mm socket. We're going to do that in a star-like pattern.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.